Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. We are now studying the 12th Sutra of the Brahma Sutra, of the first chapter, first pada of the Brahma Sutra. We will be starting the Sutra of the 6th Adhikarana, that is Anandamaya Adhikarana, of which we saw an introduction day before yesterday. So here, Shankaracharya, Bhagavad Shankaracharya, says in his commentary, Janmadyasya yataha iti arabhya shrutatvacha iti eva mantaihi sutraihi yani udahritani Vedanta vakyani tesham sarvajnah sarvashaktihi ishvaro jagato janma sthiti laya karanam iti etasya arthasya pratipadakatvam nyaya purvakam pratipaditam. So, beginning with Janmadyasya yataha, the sutra Janmadyasya yataha iti arabhya, beginning with that sutra, Shrutatvacha. So the 11th sutra was Shrutatvacha. Shrutatvacha. Shrutatvacha is the 11th sutra. So beginning from the second sutra, Janmadyasya yataha, up to the 11th sutra, iti eva mantaihi, till that, sutraihi, by these sutras, yani udahritani Vedanta vakyani, all those Vedantic sentences, that is Upanishadic sentences, which were cited, tesham sarvajnah sarvashakti ishvaro jagato janmasthiti laya karanam iti etasya arthasya pratipadakatvam nyaya purvakam pratipaditam. So all those tesham, of all those Vedantic sentences, sarvajnah sarvashakti ishvaraha, they were, all those sentences say that sarvajnah, omniscient, sarvashakti, omnipotent, ishvaraha, ishvara, jagatah, of the universe, janma sthiti laya karanam, is the cause of, karanam is the cause of janma sthiti laya, creation, janma, creation, sthiti, sustenance, and laya, dissolution. Iti, thus, etasya arthasya, this meaning, of this meaning, pratipadakatvam, explanation or presentation, nyaya purvakam pratipaditam. So that these Vedantic sentences or Upanishadic sentences quoted from the Shruti Vedas, while discussing the sutras Janmadyasya yataha up till the previous sutra Shrutatvacha, it has been logically, Nyaya Purvakam, logically, Pratipaditam, explained, presented, that these sentences which have been referred to both in the sutras and also in the commentary, all referred to the omniscient, omnipotent Ishvara as the cause of the birth or creation, sustenance and dissolution of this universe. Gati samanya upanyasena cha sarve vedantaha chetana karana vadina iti vyakhyatam. Not only using different or various logical standpoint, but also Gati Samanya Upanyasena cha. Also through the Upanyasa explanation of Gati Samanya. Gati means avagati, understanding. Samanya, common. So also explaining that the understanding, or there is a common understanding, common meaning among different or various Upanishadic statements. Sarve Vedantaha Chetana Karanavadinaha iti Vyakhyatam. We have proven, or it has been proven, that all Vedanta or all Vedantic statements are Vadinaha, arguing for Chetana Karana, for a conscious, sentient cause of this universe. Ataha, therefore, Parasya Granthasya Kim Utthanamiti. Therefore, the question is, why Utthanam, why raise, or why start, or why begin? Parasya Grantha, then the subsequent text or the subsequent volume. The idea is, starting from the 2nd Sutra till the 11th Sutra, it has been without doubt proven that the cause of this universe is a sentient or conscious entity. That being the case, what is the point in continuing this text? Uchyate, it is being told. Dvirupam hi Brahma avagamyate. Brahman can be understood in two ways, or Brahman is understood in two ways. Nama Rupa Vikara Bheda Upadhi Vishishtam. One is understanding Brahman as Nama Rupa Vikara Bheda Upadhi Vishishtam, as qualified. Upadhi means qualified, qualifying adjunct. That means Upadhi means having the superimposition. So specifying or specially having qualified by the superimposition of Nama, name, Rupa, form, and Vikara, modification. Why superimposition? Because in reality, Brahman does not have name or form or modification. So this is called Sakara Brahma. It is not told here. We are adding this. That is Brahman as seen through the eyes of ignorance. Brahman as understood through the eyes of superimposition. Tar viparitam cha, contrary to that or opposite to that, sarva upadhi vivarjitam, where there are no superimpositions, no limiting adjuncts. No limiting adjuncts, no superimposition. Sarva upadhi, all superimpositions are vivarjitam. That is also one way of looking at Brahman. We can call it Nirakara Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, Saguna Brahman, etc. What do you mean by Saguna Brahman? Because we use this word guna for quality in a positive manner. When we say Saguna Brahman, people might mistake that it is a wonderful Brahman or something. Saguna Brahman is Brahman seen through the eyes of ignorance. So definitely it is not something you should aspire for. Nirguna Brahman, though, it does not have any qualities like that. We use Nirguna, good for nothing, like that in many Indian languages. So one might think it is something which has to be avoided. Nirguna Brahman is the true nature of Brahman, devoid of all limiting adjuncts or all superimpositions. Sarva upadhi vivarjitam. Even Shankaracharya says that. So it goes without saying that we have to aspire for the understanding of Nirguna Brahman, because already we knowingly or unknowingly are looking at Saguna Brahman. Only thing is we don't always keep it in mind that this is a form of Brahman. That is the problem. So the sadhana technique here is, this is nothing but a different form of Brahman, something like that. So that is also a manifestation of God or Brahman. That is the sadhana. The other one is, this is not Brahman, this is not Brahman. So we know neti, neti, like that. So both can be a way to approach Brahman. Saguna Brahman, we can approach through that path also when we see that everything is nothing but a different reading of Brahman. We don't see it in that manner. We get entangled in the web of name and form and modification. Nama, Rupa, Vikara. But if we were to always keep in mind the principle that is in the background of this Nama, Rupa, Vikara, then that is also a path. Though it is a complicated path, which also Nirguna Brahma Dhyana or thinking of Nirguna Brahman is also complicated path. Some might argue that Saguna Brahman is easier because whatever you see, you can consider it to be a different reading of Brahman. But there is a big problem there, because whatever you see it through your sense organs and mind. And it is only easy to get caught up in the form and name and modification itself and forget easily what is behind that. So anyway, here Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya says that there are two ways of understanding Brahman. Avagamyate. Translations are always not at all near the original. So we have to understand the original language. Avagamyate. Brahman is understood in two ways. So some translations, the Brahman are of two. Brahman is of two kind. Like that translations are there, which is absurd. Brahman is not of any kind. Brahman is understood in two ways. Yatra hi dvaitam iva bhavati tad itara itaram pashyati yatra tu asya sarvam atma iva abhut tat kena kam pashyat. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad quotation here. He says, Yatra hi dvaitam iva bhavati. So wherever it is appearing as though it is dual, as iva, as though, as if it is dual. Yatra hi, wherever. So wherever means in whatever state, that means in the state of ignorance. In the state of ignorance. So whatever state means, one should not, I am tempted to tell this. Anyway, one should not think that it is liquid, solid, gas state. It is ignorant and non-ignorant state. So whatever state. So most of us are in the ignorant state, realm of ignorance. So in that state, it appears as if it is dual, because we do see the transactional state. What was told in the very first line, very first sentence of the Adhyasa Bhashya. Yushmad Asmad Pratyaya. So the cognition of you and I, the difference, it is an apparent understanding of Brahman. So yatra hi dvaitam iva bhavati. Wherever it appears to be dual, as if it is dual, tad itara itaram pashyati. There, one sees the other. Itara itaram pashyati. One sees the other. Yatra tu asya sarvam atma eva bhut. Whereas, in the state where idam sarvam, asya sarvam, all this means this entire universe. Atma eva bhut. Entire universe becomes abhut or has become Atma alone. That means oneself alone, self alone with a capital S. Some people make a big fuss of this capital S, small s, whatever S it is. Actually, Atma, you write it with capital S, so it is Atma, etc. That is our way of writing, notation, that's all. But what is Meant here is self, the understanding of self, the true nature of self. That is what is meant by that capital S, self. So when a person understands self or Atma to be that, Atma eva sarvam abhut. All this, asya sarvam, Atma eva abhut. All this, Atma alone. So there is nothing different from me. There is nothing different from me. Everything is Atma alone. Then tat kena kam pashyet. Then who will see? Tat kena kam pashyet. Then through whom or through what one would see what? Kena, through what? Kam, what? Means there is nothing through which you can see something. So through my eyes, in the state of ignorance, through my eyes, I see something. But in the state of knowledge, there is no difference. There is no other. There is no othering. There is no other. There is no difference. So when there is no difference, itara itaram, one cannot see other. Itara itaram pashyati. The whole problem is when difference comes. Sri Ramakrishna says, the knowledge of the one is knowledge. The knowledge of many is ignorance. So nicely put. The knowledge of one is knowledge. Aker gyan gyan, onaker gyan ogyan. The knowledge of many is ignorance. You take science also. What does science say? Particle physics, quantum physics. Many people simply tell that without reading any textbook. Okay. So it is not like that. Just reading some popular science book, if you go and ask them, oh, I have read 1, 2, 3 physics, something like that. Not like that. You have to study proper textbooks. Then you understand. The quest is to understand unity among diversity, even in physics. So physics comes closest to Vedanta. I cannot say that other subjects are away from Vedanta, but you cannot say the same with medicine. Because medicine is not trying to find unity. The more diversity, the better for the doctors. Okay. So there is one specialist for one nostril, another one for another nostril. They make a joke of that. So, but physics, particularly higher physics, not the engineering kind of physics, but the higher physics, particle physics, theoretical physics. It's in search, starting from Albert Einstein, it is in search for unity of the laws of nature. So there also what they're, one force which will explain all forces. The same question is asked by Upanishad. The disciple asked, Kasmin no Bhagavan Vijñate Sarvamidam Jnatam Bhavati. What is it by knowing which all of this is known? So here the problem is to go beyond difference, to go towards unity. So if one knows unity, then there is nothing else to know. And there is nothing, no other medium or factor through which one can know. That is the beauty. Through what one will know. So through something means there you are not there. But if you are everywhere, aham brahmasmi, and also sarvam khalu idam brahma, all that is Brahman, and I am Brahman. That means I am all that is. If that is the thing, then through what will I know? Because there is nothing where I am not there. So there is nothing other than me. If there is nothing other than me, there is nothing to know. Also, what will I know? Because all I am sarva vyapi. I am everywhere. I am everywhere. So there is nothing which I have to know. I have no more to know. That is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Then he quotes from the Chandogya Upanishad. Yatra na anyat pashyati, na anyat shrunoti, na anyat vijanati, sa bhuma. Atha yatra anyat pashyati, anyat shrunoti, anyat vijanati, tadalpam. Yo vai bhuma tadamritam. Atha yad alpam tan martyam. So what is mortal and immortal? Very simple. Many people, Amritasya putraha. Upanishad says, Swamiji said that. You are heirs of immortal bliss. Swamiji said that. To call you sinners is a libel on human nature. Swami Vivekananda says that. So people immediately, oh, we are all immortal. That means what? We will be like Chinese people. We will not die at all. 120, 131. Okay. So no, they die at 120, 130, but we will not die at all. Immortal. No, that is not the idea. You are immortal already. Because you are not the body. So what is mortality? Finitude is mortality. Limiting yourself is mortality. The moment you realize that you are infinite, you are immortal. You cannot be killed. In fairy tales you read. In Harry Potter also it is there. Voldemort cannot be killed. He has got Horcruxes. So you have to go and kill all those Horcruxes. Anyone who has read Harry Potter will understand. Those who haven't will not understand, sadly. Fairy tales, you have this some demon you have to kill. You have to go to some mountain and there will be a parrot. You have to kill the parrot. And so if you are infinite, you are everywhere. How can you be killed? You cannot be killed. That is the closest explanation in material terms. So yatra, where. So here where does not mean a place. Where means a state. So when na anyat pashyati, when nothing other is seen. Na anyat shrunoti, when nothing other is heard. Na anyat vijanati, when nothing other is known. Sabhuma, that is great. That is great. Great in terms of magnitude. So Bhuma means big or great. So what is big, great means? What is the meaning of the word Brahma? When you're saying Brahma, Brahma, it comes from the root word Brahma, which means large. That's what it means. Large. Why large? Because it is infinite. It is infinite. There is no boundary. You cannot have any boundary. So that's why large. The closest the rishis saw word closest to the ultimate reality is large. Simply say it is large, but not large like in comparison to something. Not big like in comparison to something. In primary school they teach this is small, this is big, this is bigger. This is small, it is large, it is larger. Not like that. It is incomparable. So it is larger than anything. There is nothing larger than that because it is infinite. So Bhuma, it is large. And yatra anyat pashyati, where you see the other. Itara itaram pashyati, where you see the other, where you can cognize the other. Some people, they have a fad to put technical terms to just show that they know so many things. So they will say, instead of saying where you can see other, they'll say where you can cognize the other. Okay. Now it makes no sense. They're very happy. So where you can see the other. Yatra anyat pashyati. Yatra anyat shrunoti, where you can hear the other. Anyat vijanati, where you can know the other. So the whole concept of this Triputi Bheda. So triad, Triputi means three. Triad, there's a triangle. Of course, it's not a love triangle, but it is a knowledge triangle. There is a triangle of knowledge. What is the triangle? The known, that which is known, prameya. That who is knowing, pramatra. So the knower, the known, and the means of knowledge, pramana. This is the triangle of knowledge, Triputi. So there is a distinction. There is something which I have to know. Kena kam pashyet, we saw in the previous quotation. Through what will I know what? So there is no pramana, because it is through pramana you know. And knowing what, there is no prameya also. There is nothing which you will know. Because there is nothing different from you to know. There is nothing different from you which you can use to know something which is different from you. There is nothing different from you at all. So what will you know? Through what will you know? So, yatra anyat vijanati, wherever one knows other than oneself something, tad alpam, that is finite. Alpam means small, but here small means finite. It is limited. Limited. You think of yourself as a puny creature. You get up in the morning, go to the restroom. Oh, today now I understood why it's called restroom, because it's a continuation of your sleep, you see. That's why it's called restroom. So you go to your restroom and then you come out and then you are thinking, I have to eat something. Okay. Then again you think I have to beautify myself. Then you think that I have to learn something. Very few people think that, but whoever thinks that. Then you think that I have to contribute something, means you do work. Then you think that you have contributed something, so you have to be given some contribution, salary. Like that, it goes on and on and on and on. All your transactions are based on this tiny, limited version of you, which is not at all you. So you think the Annamaya Kosha, the body, the Pranamaya Kosha, the energy, the Manomaya Kosha, mind, Vijnanamaya Kosha, brain. Brain means not the intellect, buddhi, not the physical brain, which is part of Annamaya Kosha. Then Anandamaya Kosha, whatever happiness you get. So all this you think is your true reality. It is limited. It is limited because we always see it changes and it also perishes. Perishes, that perishing part many people are unable to see. That's the whole problem. But it has got an expiry date. So that is why it is limited. Tad alpam. That is what is mortal. Finite is mortal. Infinite is immortal. So in the Upanishads, yat bhavayati tad bhavati. What you think you will become. Swami Vivekananda put it in a different way. What you think, you become. If you think you can, you can. If you think you cannot, you cannot. So here, tad alpam. If you see something other than you, then it is a limited understanding of yourself. Very simple. It's a limited, it's a puny understanding of yourself. Why are you all distinct? See, in society, we are fighting apparently for removing all kinds of distinctions. Have we been able to do that? No. Because in Bengali, they say, Godai Gondogol. The problem lies at the root of things. What is the root of things? Because even while I am fighting against social distinctions, I am considering myself as a limited person. How can I go beyond distinctions? Because I'm always seeing someone separate from me. So even though there are gender, there is gender sensitization, gender this, that, gender that, there is a whole gender bender. So this gender bender, then they will say no body shaming. So there is fat, lean, etc. Then they will say black and fair. So some people actually, it seems fair and lovely removed fair from the lovely. So now it's only lovely, no fair. So all these things, as I there was a campaign, even now it is there, worldwide campaign, that fair is unfair. So like that. So there is something like complexion of skin. Then there is people who have disabilities. So they are physically challenged, mentally challenged, visually challenged, all that. You go on and go on. You will have more and more differences. You will have more and more attempts to merge these differences. Never it will be possible. Why? Because you're seeing a person as a body-mind complex. As long as we see a person as a body-mind complex, we will always see distinctions because we're seeing the body. So unless we see every person as the soul, each soul is potentially divine. Vivekananda, Swamiji said, Swami Vivekananda said, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. So this is what we have to do. The moment you manifest this divinity, which is intrinsic, which is potential, you have to make it kinetic. you express it, you bring it out, manifest, then we see that it is nothing but an extension of that one principle. That's all. It's a vistara. Brahma means that vistara, big expansion. So this whole universe is nothing but an expansion of that one principle. Unless we see like that, we will always see the other. Because I see my body also as the other. When I sit, stand, and see, that's the beauty we don't realize. What happens when I stand before the mirror? I'm seeing my body. How can I see something which is me? If I am able to see something which is me, that means that is not me. This is logic you have to understand. So nobody can see oneself. But if I stand in front of my body, I can see me, means that is not me. The body is not me. I cannot do that. No atom, no particle can understand itself. It cannot happen. It is impossible. So that means it is the best proof that body is not me, because I am able to see the body. Like in Mandukya Upanishad, they say, how do you know that it is false? Mandukya Karika. How do you know that it is false? Because you can see it. Because you can see it, it is false. Similarly, I can see the body, it is false. It is not true. So, alpam, that alpam, that is limited. This is finite. It is limited. Yo vai bhuma tad amritam. Indeed, vai, yaha bhuma, yo bhuma. What is infinite? What is big? What is large? Tad amritam, that is immortal. So if it is infinite, why immortal? Because it has no end. Infinite can never end. In time, kala, it is infinite. That means what was in the past will be in the present. What is in the present will be in the future. That's why it's called Shashwata. Shwa means tomorrow. Shwata means it has a tomorrow. Shashwata means it always has a tomorrow. That is the literal meaning of the word. Shashwata, Shashwata we say. That means it always has a tomorrow. It will never have a time when there will be no tomorrow. So Shashwata. Then Kala, Desha, space. In space, it is everywhere. So you cannot say that that Atman is only in this place. When you say Atman is only in this place, or some person is only in this place, in the place where that person is not, that person is already dead. Might be living, but that person is already dead in the place where that person is not existing. If you think as we think ourselves to be body, then in the place where that body is not there, that person is dead, is absent in that place. So is already mrita, dead in that place. But that which is infinite is there everywhere. So it is immortal. It does not have any end. In space also. Nimitta. It does not have any cause. Because it does not have any cause, you cannot stop it. So if all mud is removed from this world, then there can be no pot of at least clay or mud. Pot will not be there. So like that, all causes of or all sources of fuel, if it is removed from this world, so, fuel, non-renewable energy, if it is removed from the world, which is happening, depletion of fuels, then there will be no fuel. So now everybody is saying, okay, renewable energy sources we have to go. So that which cannot be removed. So nimitta, cause is not there, so you cannot remove it. So it is infinite in cause also. Desha, Kala, Nimitta. So it is what? Amritam. So it is Bhuma like that. It is infinite. That is why it is Bhuma. It is large. And so because it is infinite, it is also immortal. Atha, whereas that yad alpam, that which is finite, tat martyam, that is mortal. So this is the quotation from Chandogya Upanishad. Then from the Taittiriya Aranyaka, Bhagavadgita Shankaracharya quotes, Sarvani Rupani Vichitya Dhiraha Namani Kritva Abhivadan Yadaste. So Sarvani Rupani Vichitya Dhiraha. So this is Kathopanishad. It's from the Kathopanishad. Sarvani Rupani Vichitya Dhiraha. So, dhiraha, a person who is very steady, patient. Dhiraha, patient. It requires a lot of patience. Spirituality requires a lot of patience. So, whatever you may be, in whichever age you may be living, internet age, digital age, whatever, the industrial revolution 4.0, artificial intelligence, whatever intelligence it may be, there is nothing artificial about the Brahman intelligence. That Chit, Sat, Chit, Ananda. There is nothing artificial. It's your natural form. It's your Swabhavika Swarupa. It's your natural form, your true form. So there, to understand that, all the artificial intelligence, that is the superimposition, has to be removed. So to remove that, you have to practice Viveka, discernment, Viveka, Vichara, and Vairagya, dispassion. It's all dispassion, discernment, all neti, not this, not this. So, sarvani rupani vichitya dhiraha. So, patience is required, forbearance is required, steady mind steadfast mind is required. Means you have to have perseverance. Told in another popular language, lage raho munna bhai. So you have to constantly be at it, that perseverance. So dhiraha sarvani rupani, all forms, vichitya, having all forms, having analyzed, vichitya, which this is the root for the word viveka also. So having discerned or having analyzed all forms like forms of Brahmadi Pipili Kanta. So from the four-faced Brahma, who is the in charge minister of production. So from Brahma to Pipilika ant. So those days they knew only about ant, I think. I don't know why Pipilika. We have mosquito, smaller than Pipilika and more dangerous also, mosquito. So from Brahma, Mashakanta, we can say. Mashaka, mosquito. So Mashakanta. So whatever, all these bodies, you analyze, vichitya dhiraha. The person patiently analyze. What does that person understand? What do you understand? Namani kritva. That person, what does that person say? Namani kritva. Labels them, simple. Namani, different names that person gives to different bodies. So we see Brahma. Oh, this is Brahma. This is husband of Miss Saraswati. Like that. So this person, where does he came? From Nabhi, Kamala, lotus came, and from lotus this person came. All funny ways of production. As far as the God world is concerned, all logic is thrown to the dustbin. Okay. So because you have to go beyond logic. So that's that kind of production. So we know, oh, this is Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, four-faced Brahma. Fifth face, somebody, fifth face was removed by Shiva, it seems. Wonderful. So originally 5 faces were there. Fifth head was removed. So only 4 faces poor man is left with. So this we see. Then one mosquito we see, we don't know. We cannot identify mosquitoes. Oh, this is that mosquito which is going to cause me, what is this? Anopheles. What the name is there? I don't know. I forgot. So that mosquito which causes malaria or which causes dengue. We see all mosquitoes and we see that it is a mosquito. So namani kritva, labeling everything. It is easier for us nowadays to label because we have Google. So the other day, parents came and they said that their child has attention deficit. This word they have got from Google. They have no idea about what is attention deficit, etc. Some Google Ainama they have done. And attention deficit, what happened? This fellow is too observant. And he has no attention. He has over attention and over concentration. He is above average IQ. And then I found that the poor lady had some problem. She has problem. And she's saying that my child is attention deficit and all. This happens all along because nowadays parents are so concerned about their children, they forget that they are their children. So whatever concern they have is actually coming from themselves. So they have to first take care of themselves, children will be all right. So this namani kritva, labeling has become our common nature. Namani kritva, that is a fat person, this is a lean person. Namani kritva, labeling. And then what we do? Then we abhivadan yadaste. Then we say that yes. We use those names and we behave or we transact with those things using that name, with the idea that I know. So when I see a mosquito, oh, mosquito, I know. When I see a person, of course, I cannot say that. People, nobody knows. Okay, mosquito, I know. I can get dengue or something. Person, what will happen? Nobody knows. Leopard, I know what will happen. Human, Homo sapiens, sapiens, most difficult. But still, I know that something is coming. I don't know what it will do. So, abhivadan yadaste, I address those things using that name, those names. So, here also what? In the Chandogya Upanishad, Mrittika eva satyam. Vikara rupa namadheyam. So all the modifications are given names. The mud or the clay is the reality. When the clay is converted into or mud is converted into pot, we give it a name pot. But mud is the mrittika ityeva satyam. Mud alone is reality. Similarly, Brahman, because of superimposition, so many names are given. Because of modifications, because of superimposition. But Brahman alone is real. That's the idea. Then Shvetashvatra Upanishad also, Shankaracharya quotes. One beautiful thing which I have already mentioned in the past sessions is that this Brahma Sutra is nothing less than a court argument. In the court, the advocate will cite from the law, section so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. And there is something called case law. So in such a case, this versus this in Supreme Court or High Court, this happened. Same thing is done in Brahma Sutra also, in the Brahma Sutra commentary. The Upanishads, we can compare it with law, is quoted. And it is told that this is what has been told. So here Shvetashvatra Upanishad in the 6th chapter, 19th mantra, Nishkalam Nishkriyam Shantam Niravadyam Niranjanam Amritasya Param Setum Dagdendanam Iva Analam. A beautiful illustration. Nishkalam. Nishkalam means that which does not have kala, means it can be called kala also. Parts, there are no parts. Nishkalam. Nishkriyam, one who does not have activity. There is no activity. Shantam, peaceful. Shantam means there is no consequence. There is no result. There is no modification. Shantam, peaceful, silent. Only if there is modification, there will be confusion. If there is action, there will be reaction or there will be result. If this has got no result, no modification. Shantam. Niravadyam. It is blemishless, faultless. Niranjanam. It has got no defect. So Niravadyam means fault. Niranjanam means defect. Anjana means defect. So what is the difference between fault and defect? In English, there is no difference. But here there is a difference. Anjana means that which is voluntarily done. Okay. That which you go out of your way or you go and earn. So there is an action required for that. Defect means which is manufacturing defect, which you get. Like Bagira means deaf. So that is defect. And Anjana means Papa. So you go and beat somebody. Why? Because you just felt like that. That's what. You feel, some people you see, you feel like beating them. In fact, so in public spaces, they come and they create so much nuisance. You feel like giving 2 slaps to that person. So we are all civilized. That means we don't do what we feel. That is what civilization essentially means. Okay. So, but an animal will do that. It will, if you go and mess with a dog, it will bite you. then don't cry. So that is what is Anjana. Means you have incurred something because of an action. And so Niravadya Niranjanam. Niravadyam Niranjanam. Amritasya Param Setum. It is the supreme bridge to immortality. See the expression. Supreme Param Setu. Param Setu. So now first they will say bullet trail, then they will say here in Kerala they are making big sound of K-rail, that rail. Somebody said this what? Mass rapid transit system. I cannot basically make any difference. All of them are the same thing. There is a difference only in degree, no, not in kind. So MRTS, then some metro rail, this rail, that rail. So what is the Param Setu? The supreme bridge to Amrita, immortality. What does it mean? What bridge? What is this? So we are talking about duality now, because bridge is something which you see. How can you say supreme bridge to immortality? It's a figure of speech. It means this is the only way you will understand that you are immortal. See, it is not that you are made immortal. You are immortal. Only thing, you are reminded of your immortality. It is not that you are made immortal. If you are made anything, jatasya hi dhruvam mrityuhu. So if anything is born, it will die. So if you are made immortal, means it is called oxymoron. Oxymoron means it is like intelligent, no, terribly good. That is oxymoron. Terribly good. Terrible. If it is terrible, it cannot be good. But people say it's terribly good. So that's an oxymoron where opposite words are put together. So if you say immortality is born, that means it is oxymoron. How can that which is immortal, it cannot be born, because then if it is born, it will die. So it is not that you are becoming immortal, you are already immortal, but you have forgotten it. So Param Setu, that's what you are connected to your immortality. Nokia, I have no connection with Nokia company, disclaimer. So Nokia used to have this connecting people. So all the Shastras should have this tagline, connecting immortality or connecting with immortality. Amritasya Param Setum. And how? Dagda Indanam Iva Analam. Dagde Indanam Iva Analam. What is this? Why am I born? What is the problem? Why am I born? How do I become mortal? If I am immortal, how do I become mortal? You are calling all men are mortal. In philosophy, first lesson they will say this man is mortal. Socrates is a man, so Socrates is mortal. This is induction, deduction. In philosophy class, they will teach you this. First time itself, they will teach. So if all men are mortal, means all human beings are mortal. That itself is so gendered. Huh? All men are mortal, not women are not mortal or what. So all human beings are mortal. We are thinking of ourselves as mortal. If I am truly immortal, then how did I become mortal? Because I forgot. There is a disconnect. So this Param Setu, it will connect with my true reality. It's not that I am becoming immortal. I will remember that I am immortal. How? Because I become immortal. I am not become immortal. I am thinking of myself as mortal. Why? Because of karma phala. How did karma phala come? Because of the idea that I am doing a karma, or I am experiencing the result of karma. Because I am thinking I am doer or I am the experiencer. How did this come? Because of ignorance. So first ignorance came, and then I thought that I am the experiencer or I am the agent or the doer of the karma. Then I did some karma. When I did that karma, then it gave some result. Then I experienced that again karma. So it goes into a vicious cycle. So as long as you feed fuel, fire will never be extinguished. Fire will always be there. So extinguishing fire is a very difficult job. Particularly when there is forest fire, we in Mayavati, that is in Uttarakhand, where we have an ashram. Forest fire, we all go to extinguish the fire. It is an impossible task almost. So what do? We remove all the grass near the tree, which is particularly some trees, they will catch fire and within minutes they will be, full tree will go away, burn. Particularly this, what is it called? Yes. So those trees, suddenly I'm not getting, it's called cheed. People go there and they take that and keep it as a keepsake. People who come from cities, they take it as a cone tree, pine cone tree. So pine trees, they have this fluid in them, oil in them. So that pine trees, they will immediately catch fire and then they will be, complete tree will go away. So what one should do? One should remove all the grass or all other combustible item from near the tree. And that is how you stop a forest fire. Very difficult, but you have to stop. So if dagda indana iva analam iva. Analam means fire. Dagda indana. That fire of which indana, fuel, has been dagda, burnt. So what is the fuel here? Ignorance is the fuel, main fuel. What gives rise to karma? Ignorance. What gives rise to the idea that you are the doer, you are the experience? Ignorance. So if ignorance is removed, then the fuel is removed, then the fire of karma and karma phala and this mortality will stop. So amritasya param setu. This is the greatest or the highest bridge to immortality. Just like a fire from which its fuel has been, or fire of which fuel has been burnt. So if you put so much paper and then you light the fire, and it will burn as long as the paper is there. When the paper is over, fire also will go over. It will get extinguished. So that is the idea here. Shweta Sutra Upanishad also he is quoting. Okay, stop here. So what he wants to say is that there are two ways of looking at Brahman. One is through the eyes of superimposition, through the eyes of ignorance, where you see Brahman as qualified by or as characterized by name, form, and modification. That is one way you see. And the other way is to see Brahman as devoid of all qualifications, as devoid of all superimpositions. See, this world is a very miserable place. Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the Bhagavadgita, he says, Bhagavan Buddha also says the same thing. So he says, Anityam Asukam Lokam. So this world is ephemeral, impermanent, temporary. And it is also Asukam. It is not happy place. Literal translation. That means it is a miserable place. It gives misery. Imam prapya bhajasvamam. And Bhagavan Buddha says, Dukkham Dukkham Sarvam Dukkham. Everything is misery. So the world basically is a miserable place. Why? Why is the world a miserable place? Because you see the world, it is a miserable place. That's the point. If you see the world, it is always going to be miserable. If you don't see the world, sarva upadi vivarjitam. If you see the world not as the other, if you don't see the world as the world, but you see it as not different from you. See, Sri Ramakrishna, in a very different way, he said the same thing. He said, be in the world, but don't get worldliness overpower you. So you be in the world just like you are in a boat. So boat can be in water, but if water gets into boat, there will be a problem. Okay, so that's why this is something which we know. So in the first time when I just got into a boat, I was seeing water was continuously coming. So obviously, for obvious reasons, one gets frightened. Then some people those days, There is one person whose job is to put this water out. Nowadays they use motor, so that water will be sucked and put. So normal boats, there will be some leakage, but this water will be thrown out. So boat can be in water, but water cannot be in boat. You might be in a worldly condition, but worldliness should not go into you. So even if you are in the embodied condition, you should not consider yourself as embodied, because you are not embodied. That is Iva. That is your apparent condition. The real you is not alpa, is not finite. That is the point. So we have to, while even living in the world, we have to remind ourselves that we are basically nama rupa vikara vivarjitam. Upadi, qualifying limitations. So we are devoid of, we are free from all these limitations that we have to remind ourselves. We constantly remind yourselves of that. How is it that Shankaracharya, when some Kapalikas come, then he says, yes, because I am not the body. See, the moment you understand that I am not the body, once when one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna and brother disciple of Swami Vivekananda was suffering from some disease. And disease means he was not keeping well. So Swamiji writes, and he was falling ill frequently. So Swamiji writes to another brother disciples that tell him to think, not to think of himself as the body, to remind himself as Atman. Now, of course, we are talking about a Brahmagyani. That person also was a Brahmagyani, knower of Brahman. So when we read this, we feel that Swamiji is probably being too harsh, because obviously body will get ailments. Body will perish like that. But there is a point there, Swamiji says. The Swamiji's message, it has got a point that one has to constantly, while living in the world, think and remind oneself that one is not the body and the mind. That is the only way to go beyond misery. Shokam tarati atmavit. The Chandogya Upanishad said. The knower of Brahman transcends sorrow. Transcends sorrow. How does the knower of Brahman transcend sorrow? The body of the knower of the Brahman definitely is sorrowful, because it is through superimposition. It is body. So embodiment leads to suffering. It will have suffering, or because of ignorance, you are in the embodied condition. So the only way to get rid of that is to constantly remember that you don't have the upadi of nama, rupa, vikara. So nothing in you is essentially having a name. Nothing in you is essentially having form. Nothing in you ever changes. Simple. Otherwise, if someone gets diabetes, you have to constantly check, my sugar went up, came down. It's a funny thing. Like, oh, now it has gone up. Oh, now it has come up. Now what will happen? What will happen? So increase medicine, decrease food, like that. It is an endless thing, because it is vikara namadheya. It is constantly modifying. Because the only thing, as you might have heard 1,000 times, the only thing constant in the universe is change. Because it is Maya, it is not Nitya. So it will constantly change. Constantly change. There is a whole Buddhist school which believes that everything is in a flux. Everything changes. There's nothing permanent at all. So the only way to understand our true nature is to first keep on meditating that we are Sarva Upadi Vivarjitam. Sarva Upadi Vivarjitam. So we will see the rest later. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.